Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar. We're sponsored by Salford City Council, but also through funding from the European Structural Investment Fund's Regional Development Fund. And this is aimed specifically at small businesses in Salford, and particularly for takeaway and or restaurants that are still open for delivery and takeaway as well. So I'm Ian Hutchings, I'm the Managing Director of Vita Safety. I'd like to welcome my colleague Katie as well, and Mike Pye, who's helping us facilitate the session today. So Katie, do you want to just give us a bit of information about your background before we start?
Sure, yeah, I've recently joined Vita Safety, but I've worked as a safety consultant previously across the West Midlands, visiting lots of small businesses and varieties of small businesses, including shops and takeaways and things like that. But yeah, looking forward to meeting some businesses over in Salford and the wider Manchester area. And I'd like to introduce Mike Pye, who's our marketing consultant.
Thanks, Katie. So yeah, just a real quick introduction. My name's Mike, and I've been working with Vita Safety for quite a few years now, and we've been delivering quite a few webinars and educational events for businesses in the Salford area. And I'll be facilitating the event today and posing some of the questions that a lot of businesses in Salford have been asking to us. So with that in mind, I'll hand over to you, Ian, to talk through the agenda for today.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so just a bit of background really about the project that we're involved in. So we've been we're working for Salford City Council, visiting neighbourhood areas in Salford, primarily small businesses on high street. So we're working across a number of different areas at the moment in Salford, and it's really aimed at small businesses like hopefully yours that are listening today. This is supported by funding that was provided by the EU last year. So we've completed almost 80 visits so far. We've got a target to complete 120 visits by the end of March. So this is a free service to you. So we've got consultants that are visiting different high street premises, and we are specifically aimed at takeaways today, but this also includes places like estate agents, shops, beauty salons, hairdressers. And what I would suggest as well is, if you're currently closed, this service is still available. So we are aiming to help open high streets up safely again. So we provide a free visit, a free report, and advice for small businesses. So it's a really valuable service that's available to you.
Brilliant, thanks, Ian. So, as you mentioned, you've done 80 visits, 80 plus visits so far over the last couple of months. So you must have seen lots and lots of different businesses and some really good examples, and maybe some areas where businesses can improve. So, what have you seen that businesses have done well in this period?
Yeah, I think I think on the whole we've been really impressed with how small businesses have managed throughout this period, because it's an absolute, it's a really difficult time. It has been for, we're nearly getting on to a year now since this pandemic sort of struck us. But we are finding that staff, your employees and members of your team are sort of reinforcing rules with people as they come in, just reminding people that they should be wearing a face mask, or they should be using your hand sanitizer, and trying to limit numbers of people coming into your shop or into your takeaway, into your business. Social distancing. I mean, the key thing really still is the best control that you have is people socially distancing. So ensuring that you do limit numbers coming into your premises, people travelling safely in terms of commuting, because I think it's important to remember that one of the significant risks is still things like public transport. So if you've got members of staff travelling to work, that's really important to remember. Completing your own risk assessment. So there's lots of guidance available, example risk assessments on the local government websites, but also the HSE, the Health and Safety Executive websites. Just things like cutlery and condiments and things that you provide for people having a takeaway, being able to give those out as part of the the package that you hand over to people. People having the correct socially distancing, but also your staff having the right PPE, and things like what would normally be seating areas or waiting areas, those being closed off, and obviously contactless payment where possible.
Excellent. And from an improvement perspective, are there areas that businesses on the whole kind of need to work a bit harder on?
Yeah, I think what we see, I think because things have been in place for so long, I think this is quite timely to revisit this. But this current situation that we're in with the lockdown that we're in at the moment, I think we just don't want to have to repeat this. You know, we want to get through this and recover and get people back into our, into our businesses and just move on and hopefully improve the situation. So cleaning, obviously we've got most of you will have cleaning processes and things in place, but it's just having things like evidence that's documented, it's signed off, or it's noted what time you're cleaning. I think the most important thing when you visit any premises is that first interaction. So things like the signage that you might see coming into the premises that reminds people about wearing a face covering, reminds people about social distancing, reminds people about your hygiene arrangements as well. And then when people come into your shop or your premises, just your staff are able to remind people what those controls are. So yeah, just keeping socially distancing is the key thing. Protective equipment, but also having that hand sanitizer available for people as well when they come in.
Excellent. And you alluded to this quite well in that last slide. But obviously, there's a process that people go through when they enter a shop or a takeaway or a restaurant, from entering the front door to enjoying the facilities and then leaving again. So, what are all the different steps that they need to take during that journey to make sure that it's safe at each stage?
Yeah. Well, so when we do our assessments, one of the key things we do is we try and encourage people to think about if somebody actually had COVID or was ill coming into your premises, what are the key steps that you can take to protect your staff, but also protect other members of the public and other customers. So it really starts from the entry point to the exit point of your premises. So there's obviously key things we look at on the way in. So it might be track and trace, possibly if you're sort of premises where people might be staying for a period of time, but also things like signage on the way in, the requirement for face masks, the requirement for social distancing. So as you can see on the photograph there, it's really clear from when people access your business that you've got these control measures in place. People are able to sanitize their hands. So it's things like not just hygiene, but those sort of common touch points where people might come in, like the doors, obviously a classic example. If they're handling any products or anything like that, floor markings. If you're able to have some sort of social distancing reminders on the floor, we found that to be really helpful. But also just instructions for people to wait outside. If people are having to access the premises to pick up a delivery or a takeaway, it's important that they know you don't have people queuing inside. But also where you can, I know it's quite difficult, but also if you're able to manage the numbers of people outside as well, because one of the challenges that we have seen is where people sort of congregate outside the premises as well, trying to get in or waiting and queuing outside, if that's blocking pavements or it's making it difficult for people to socially distance outside. So yeah, that's it in summary really. So I think if you just imagine that sort of journey through ordering, but also coming to pick things up, that's probably the best way to look at it in terms of like hygiene, and just that message about social distancing is really important.
Excellent, thanks. So, Katie, just a couple of questions for you. You're going to take us through these next few slides on some of the challenges that businesses are facing and how they can evidence their compliance and also evidence to the public that they are a safe business to come into. Can you talk us through some of these aspects, please?
Sure, yeah, of course. And just to complement what Ian was mentioning about that customer journey with the signage, It's also really good to have visible evidence of your cleaning regime as well. So whether that be for those regular touch points like the door handles, or whether it's your keypad for when you pay contactlessly paying, all of these things serve to reassure your customers and your members of the public that you're doing everything you can to keep the premises nice and clean. So things like inspecting maybe your toilets or those touch points frequently, maybe hourly, all of those things that are touched really regularly. So if there's a product that people touch regularly, it's wiping that down as well. So people generally record that, and we've put an example of a checklist or a roster, how you can visually record that that's happening. So again, that's good for your staff to know that it's regularly being done and shared throughout the team, but also for your customers and your members of the public.
Excellent, thanks. And moving on to sort of enforcing the rules, but one of the frustrations that a lot of us see is we still go into shops and you still often see people without face masks or getting too close to each other, etc. So what's your advice to businesses that are trying to enforce those rules in their own establishments?
Yeah, I think similar to what Ian was saying, that this guidance and these rules for places like takeaways, they've been around for some time. So sometimes it's just reminding your customers that you've got maybe a capacity limit in the shop. They might have missed the sign as they walked in. They might just be having a bad day and not realise that you're only allowing so many people in at any one time. So it's to just gently remind them of whatever the rules are for your particular establishment. And again, it's about reminding them about the need to keep 2 meters apart. And people are still prone to creeping inwards a little bit and getting a little bit closer. So reminding them that the 2 meter distancing is the best thing to keep themselves safe. And also for your staff as well, that them being 2 meters apart is also really good for them. Face masks, of course, before entering the shop, hopefully, or the takeaway, sorry, lots of people are wearing face masks appropriately. We are starting to see people, it's creeping under the nose or it's hanging off one ear maybe. So it's reminding your customers and your visitors that face masks need to be worn properly as well. And using your hand sanitizer. So it's not just there for decoration, it is there to keep their hands nice and clean. And anything that they touch then in the shop is nice and clean before they leave. So yeah, it's just reminding people really that it's there for their own safety and to keep you open as well.
Excellent, thanks. And just moving on to deliveries then. So obviously deliveries have just gone through the roof since the start of the pandemic. And I think there's a bit of inconsistency in terms of the rules, the way that the rules are being adhered to by delivery drivers across the board, really. So just to give a reminder to people, what should delivery drivers be doing to make sure that it remains safe and compliant?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, that they're still interacting with other people. So we're trying to still limit our interactions wherever we can. So for delivery drivers and those that are making contactless deliveries, it's again about having good hygiene. So either wearing gloves or regularly washing your hands or regularly sanitizing your hands, because you'll be touching potentially lots of touch points. So people's door knockers or people's front doors, they may have been regularly touched by other people. So wearing a face covering as well. So the face covering is there to protect other people, to prevent the respirable droplets that come from your nose and your mouth from reaching others. So it's really good to wear a face covering properly as well. And most importantly, social distancing. So once they've maybe knocked on that front door or pressed that buzzer, to then step back to allow the 2 meter social distance to be in place. A lot of delivery drivers have got really good at leaving things on people's front doorsteps and then stepping back to keep that 2 meter social distancing. So all of those things combined is what we would recommend as a really good contactless delivery scheme. If they can pay in advance as well, so there's no cash that changes hands. Again, there's no need for face-to-face contact then to be prolonged. So yeah, if payment can be done in advance as well, that's also really good.
Excellent, thanks. Back to you, Ian. So If businesses would like some more information or some more guidance, how can you help, and where else can they go for a bit more information?
Yeah, I mean, we've shared some links on here for the Salford City Council website, so it's really good to have a look at those. If your business, if you think your business is obviously relevant for what we can offer, which I think is pretty much, most of high street small businesses in Salford, the best way to contact us is just the inquiries website. So if you email inquiries@vitasafety.com, what we can do is, when it's convenient for you, when we're in the neighbourhood, we can arrange for a consultant to visit. You'll get a free visit. There's a free report available, which will be emailed to you after the visit. So it's a really, it's a really valuable service. I really would encourage you to take this up. It is limited in terms of time, so the project currently is only running till the end of next month, till the end of March. I think we've got about 40, possibly 40 spaces left for businesses to visit. So yeah, I'd really take this up. But yeah, the guidance is there. There's also more information on things like the HSE website for your risk assessments. But yeah, please do contact us, and we can help you.
Brilliant, thanks. So just going to go to some questions that have been posed by a lot of the businesses that you've worked with already. So I'll just go through some of these, and it'd be great if you could provide some advice. So firstly, around the service itself, will there be any hidden or additional charges for getting involved in this?
Yeah, I can answer that one, Mike. So no, there isn't. Basically, this is funded through the EU. It's arranged through Salford City Council, so there's no charge whatsoever. So you've got the free visit, a report for your business, which is tailored to your particular premises. So yeah, there's no additional charges at all.
Brilliant. And is it mandatory? Do they have to do this, or is it opt-in?
It's not a mandatory requirement for it to be done. However, we think it would be something really beneficial to the business. You're going to feel, once you've read the report, you would know whether your business has applied all of the guidance that the government's got available. So hopefully that's something should be able to reduce transmission in your premises and help you stay open. So for a completely free visit with a completely free report, you would definitely have that action list or things that you may need to do as a result of the visit.
Brilliant. And on that point, I suppose at the moment, businesses are under so much pressure. So if there are costly changes identified through this process, I think many businesses are worried that they may have to close and restrict even more what they're doing. So what's your advice around that?
I think, I mean, we're not a regulator, we're consultants. So the purpose of this project really is to help you stay open, or for businesses that are currently closed, when the time comes, to be able to open safely. So I think in reality, there shouldn't be anything from our visit or our report that should be that costly. I think a lot of the things that we can do, like the posters, are available for free through the council and things online. So yeah, I don't think from all the businesses we've been to so far, I don't think there's any examples where there's been particularly costly issues at all for them.
Brilliant. I suppose on the same note as well, would the report be forwarded or used to report the business to enforcement agencies like the HSE, or is this purely just for their benefit?
Yeah, the report is for the individual business, so they'll get a copy of the report that we've produced for them after the visit, and also a copy goes to the council. So the council would be able to see how many visits Vita Safety are doing and what kind of results we're getting, if there's any common threads between the businesses, just so that we can all share the best information and help businesses to stay open, really.
Great, thanks. Just in terms of the necessity to have this consultation then, so obviously over the last 12 months, guidelines and regulations have changed continually, and I suppose with the vaccine rolling out and at such high numbers now, is it still important or valuable to businesses to go through this consultation now?
I think I think now is probably more important than ever, really, because as I said earlier, we really don't want to be in this situation again. So whether you're closed or open, whatever your situation is with your business, I think this is like a really important time to get this right. I mean, it's only, I guess, within the last week, probably, hopefully, the R numbers sort of dropping down below 1. So I think the more we can do now, this is more timely than ever, really. So I think it's really important.
Great. I think that kind of answers question number 8 as well. Another question here. I have a micro business with less than 5 employees and only operate as click and collect. So is it still necessary for a business like that to have the consultation?
We would recommend it, yeah, mainly because it's a free service that's going to give you really good advice on how to operate safely. So regardless of how many people are in the business or how many people are visiting the business, all of the things that we're going to recommend, they're going to set you up nicely as we start to come out of lockdown and maybe as things change. So all of the advice that we give is all about maintaining a safe premises and about you being able to stay open. So yeah, we would think it would be really beneficial even for those small micro businesses.
Brilliant. And finally, will having the consultation enable the business to have any sort of official sign off that the business is a safe place to visit?
We don't sign it off per se, but you can have the COVID secure poster and information from the government. The business can obviously, if through our report, because we go through the process of looking at all the controls that are in place, I think if we're happy that all those things are being done well, you can certainly sign that off, but it's for the business really to do that themselves. But I think it's really good from a business perspective, because it's actually in a way, people are more likely to visit you, they're more likely to use your services as a business if you can demonstrate that you are COVID secure.
Definitely. Brilliant. Thanks for that, both of you. So finally, if anybody's got any particular questions or concerns, how can they contact you to either raise those questions or to maybe book a consultation?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to contact us is the inquiries email address. So you can see the email address on the screen here. That's the best way to get in touch. So if you've got any questions, if you need any advice, if you're based in Salford, you can obviously arrange potentially, hopefully, for us to visit. So one of my team can visit you and do a free assessment, and then send you a report as well. So yeah, that's the best way to get in touch, I think, Mike.
Fantastic. So finally, thanks both for your time and for answering all those questions. See you soon.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.